Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists nurse practitioners with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about new graduate nurse practitioner contract review. So when I'm reviewing a contract with the nurse practitioner who just got licensed, this is their first job, what are some things we go over in the contract specific to nurse practitioners? So as an RN, or any kind of nursing, non-nurse practitioner, LPN, RN, the normal path up if you took it. You haven't had to sign an employment agreement in the past. Maybe if you're doing some travel nursing, they'll have you sign, a small contract. But this is the first time that you likely have had either an employment agreement or independent contractor agreement. So what are some things that you need to look out for when you're signing this agreement? One, how long it lasts and how long you can how much notice you have to give to terminate the contract. So it'll say it's a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year contract, usually automatically renews for 1 year periods. But the important part is without cause termination. So you always want the ability to terminate the contract if for whatever reason it's just not working out. Maybe every job sounds awesome when you're interviewing, or maybe you're going to look at it. But once you get there, in practice, things can change. So you want the ability to leave at any point with a certain amount of notice. Now, generally it's 60 to 90 days. You do not want something longer than that. If you're trying to find a new job and you have, let's just say, a 180-day notice period, some places don't want to wait 6 months for you to start. So 60 to 90 days would be a standard amount. 2, malpractice insurance. This is another thing that any kind of RN hasn't had to worry about before. You need to, usually the employer is going to pay for your annual premium, meaning how much it costs to insure you each year. One thing you need to look into is if you have a claims made policy, who pays for tail insurance. Very briefly, tail insurance is necessary with a claims made policy. It ends whenever your employment terminates. There's still going to be a gap in between the last patient you saw for the employer and then the last day you can be sued. Statute of limitations in most states is around 2 years. So you'll have to get a second policy called, and that's a tail insurance policy, that covers that gap. Who pays for it is contractual, meaning it will say in the contract who is responsible to pay for tail. So that's another thing that you want to look to and ideally have the employer cover. Next would be restrictive covenants, non-compete, non-solicit, that type of thing. This is very specific to nurse practitioners because an NP can do many different areas of practice without having to be, board certified or anything like that, like a physician would. You want to make certain that the non-compete is specific to what you're doing for that employer. So let me break it down. There's generally 3 components to a non-compete. So you have what you can't do, how long you can't do it, and where you can't do it. So for an NP, let's just say an NP is working in a, orthopedic clinic. You want your scope to say you can't work as a nurse practitioner in orthopedics for 1 year and 10 miles from your primary practice location. That way you can do any other specialty. If it just says you can't practice as a nurse practitioner, or I've seen an instance where it says you can't practice nursing, meaning even if you wanted to, take some PRN shifts as an RN, or perhaps just work as an RN in your kind of non-compete period, you would be prohibited from doing that. So you absolutely want to limit that. Another one would be, let's say you're working as a hospitalist. You want it to say you can't work as a hospitalist, not you can't work as an FNP, because then you could do urgent care, primary care, ED. So be very specific about the scope for any kind of non-compete. Having to pay things back. So if you received a signing bonus or relocation assistance, generally there's going to be some period that you have to stay there. Normally whatever the initial term is. So let's just say it's 2 years. If you leave within that first two-year period, you may have to pay back any signing bonus or relocation assistance. So that's another thing to think about. So when you haven't had to sign an employment contract before, it can be kind of overwhelming for any kind of NP. So in my review with an NP, just kind of hit all the areas. And then I give them an idea of, all right, this is industry standard. This is not, it's like, well, they're offering $500 for continuing education each year. Is that good or not? No, it's not good. So we would want to increase that amount. Or they're making me pay for my own malpractice insurance. Is that standard? No, it's not. And so they should be paying for that. So that type of thing. Well, if you have any questions about your employment contract or independent contractor agreement as an NP, feel free to contact my firm. All of our information is listed below in the description. And I appreciate you watching the video. All right, take care. Bye.